Oh man, what is going on, everybody? I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Um, your boy was struggling. I got my Gatorade in the shot. Shout out to Gatorade. They just got free advertising. But all right, we're gonna jump into this video. I was trying to find something and I'm unable to find it. So it was a video that I watched on my phone that for some reason I'm unable to put it or locate it. And it was pertinent to what we're doing. So give me 1 second. Bear with me during the struggle stream. We're going to get into the twerking nurse. But I got to find this video. I ran up the stairs. I'm breathing hard. Let's see. History. Damn, I can't fucking find it. All right. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into it. Hey, as always, hey, licensed attorney, natural attorney, just my reactions to current events, trending news, where we do reactions to current events and trending news. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Now, this video is going to be interesting because we're going to talk a little bit about nurses. Shout out to nurses. Nurses is a very noble profession. Going into health, going in any profession where you have to like provide a service to people is a very honorable profession because personally, people don't like to be bothered. I can't imagine. I can't be in a customer service forwardly facing position because my attitude could be a little stank sometimes. But nursing is a great profession, and we got a few nursing stories that we have to talk about. Let me go ahead and I was scrambling, y'all. I apologize for the scramble, but let me make sure. I want to make sure I got everything squared up because we're going to talk about this. And before we go in, I'm actually going to put a link in the chat because if anybody watching this during the live stream, if you are in fact a nurse or after this is over with, you want to just chime in and talk about this, we can definitely talk about it. But we're going to talk about the twerking nurse. Let me go ahead and get this set up so I could copy this link. Let's copy, link copied. All right, let's go ahead and put it in the chat. We're going to put this in the chat. All right, so the link is in the chat. Probably should put a star on it so it stays at the top. But okay, I got the okay. Make sure I got it on the right screen. So I got the link on the chat. So we're gonna talk a little bit about nursing, and this is actually interesting because I wanted to find I don't know. I don't know. I had another nursing story, but this one is probably a little bit better. So everyone knows what's going on. I'm gonna give you the Reader's Digest version before we jump into the video. Okay, long story short, a nurse found herself being arrested for twerking on a patient's head. Now, I know that shit sounds crazy. I'm sorry to laugh, but twerking on a patient's head sounds wild. Twerking on a patient's head and dropping his medication in their mouth. Now that sounds wild, and I know what y'all thinking. The very first thought I had was, hmm, does she have a consent argument? We're going to get into that, but I wanted to make a call on the live stream to a person who is uh, an older adult in my family. Let me see. I'm gonna make this call now. Candor to the tribunal. I did tell him I was going to make this call, but I didn't tell him what the question was. So, you call an older person past 9:30, they might be asleep. I mean, 8:30, they might be asleep. So let me see if he's available. He might be asleep. I don't know. Yeah, I can't talk. He stay up later than I do.
Hey, what's up?
What's going on? I got you on the live stream. Now, remember, I called you earlier and I said I said I was going to ask you a question, but I told you I wasn't going to tell you what the question was, right?
Right.
Okay, so I got you on the live stream so everyone can hear. Now, I want to give this hypothetical. This is the story I'm talking about, but I want to give this hypothetical. You are living in a senior assisted living facility, right? And that, for everybody that know, this is Papa DFD on the line. This is this is my father on the line. So this is who we talk to. All right. So the scenario: you're living at an assisted living facility because you're an older person. You need a little bit of help, right?
Right.
You have a nurse that's 20, 21. The nurse comes into the room, and before she gives you your medication, instead of giving you your medication, while you sitting there in your chair waiting for your medication, she proceeds to get on the table behind you, stand over your head, pop her butt cheeks on her head while she in uniform, right? Nice looking lady, right? Shaking, she twerking, shaking that thing on your head, and then she tells you to open wide and drop your medication in your mouth. Would you complain about that?
No, why? Shut up. She's looking out for me. Give me my medicine. Why would I complain?
I knew your answer. I knew that was gonna be your answer before I asked you. But I oh man, that's funny. That's funny. Because the story we talk about on the live stream today is actually about a nurse, and she got arrested for doing that exact thing.
I'll be there.
Yeah, man. All right, man. I just wanted to hit you up to get your take on it. I know you, man. I know you. I knew you weren't gonna complain about that shit. You would actually probably pay extra for it if it was a service that they were offering.
All right, man.
All right, man. You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, man. I'll talk with you tomorrow, man. Have a good night.
All right, bye.
Out. All right. So, hey. So I know y'all gonna go to a consent argument. I was like, let me call an older senior citizen and see how they would take it. And y'all just heard it from the horse's mouth. Hey, Pop said, "Hey, I'm not pressing no charges on that. I'm not doing anything." So let's go ahead. Okay, let's go ahead. Hey, we got a caller on the line. Caller is a nurse. So let's go ahead because I got a few questions that I want to ask first before we start about just credentialing and skill set and all of this stuff. So right now, I'm gonna go ahead and add to the stage. Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. So hey, we got a caller on the line, Candy Girl 25. And here I'm gonna just tell y'all, I used to want to do a cool show where I had callers come in and I could see their face, but I seen too many YouTubers channels get shut down because somebody will jump up and flash porn on the screen, and then YouTube would be like, nope. So I was like, nope, I'm just gonna hear voices, no faces. So, Candy Girl, hey, first of all, I gotta give you a round of applause, and then I gotta wait 3 seconds because apparently there's no sound after the round of applause. So a round of applause to you for joining in. I'm appreciative. So you are a nurse, correct?
I am.
Okay, and how long have you been in the nursing game?
I've been a nurse for 10 years.
Okay. So you're a veteran. You clearly know right from wrong. Now, have you heard of this story that we're about to cover?
I have.
Okay, so the very first thing, the story says a 19-year-old in Georgia was arrested for twerking on a patient's head. What was the first thing that you noticed about the story or the titles or the persons involved at the time you heard of the story?
My first thought was that she was too young to be a nurse. I know that a lot of times people kind of lump us all together, but there are differences. I wouldn't be surprised if she wasn't like a CNA or a CNA or a HHA.
Okay, so in order to be a registered nurse, how much time does that take generally?
2 to 4 years for registered nurse, and to become a CNA is like a 6 years, or you can do on the job training.
Okay, so I could presumably graduate high school, and if a company rock with me, they'll just say, "Okay, you are a registered. You're going to be a CNA or an assistant, essentially, right?" Would you say it's kind of the equivalent to not a paralegal because there's certification, but maybe a legal assistant, something like that? I think I lost you. You look like you froze. All right, I think I lost you. You froze. Let me see if I could. If you're out there and you can hear me, make sure you make sure you get out of that session and then try to join because I had a few questions I wanted to ask that we were going to get into. And for some reason I think I lost you. So if you listen to this, I can't hear you for some reason. Testing 1, 2, 3, you there? I know I lost you because when I look at your image, I can see you and everybody else can't see you. And all I saw was your face frozen. Shout out to you. Let's go ahead and play the story. if Candy Girl gets back on the line, we're gonna dive into some of the details of the nursing. But let's go ahead, jump into this story so we can get the details, and then we're gonna get it.
It's a story that's definitely not what the doctor ordered. A Georgia healthcare worker has been arrested for allegedly twerking on her disabled patients. And no, this is not an episode of Nurses Gone Wild. It is real, and it's shaking up more than just her career. Let's dive right in. For Law and Crime, I'm Kennedy Walker. 19-year-old Lucretia Formosa Quayan of Loganville, a city outside of Atlanta, has been arrested on one felony count of exploitation of a disabled person.
Can I pause it right here? I want to say something. I don't want to sound like a bad person, but I don't know if you all heard the young lady's name. But I'm not saying, hey, a name doesn't have to mean anything. Okay, your name could be Jontavius Tredarius Jackson, and you could be smart as hell and sharp. But some names we do associate with certain things. And when I heard her name, I was like, oh shit. That's just me. No offense, but the name fit the accusation in my personal book. No shade to her. I'm just being, hey, I'm gonna keep it a buck. I'm being honest with you.
19-year-old Lucretia Formosa Quayan of Logan.
Lucretia, not a terrible name, but I was like, and this is of note too, because one of the subscribers reached out to me. One of the co-counsel was like, she is not from the United States. So her parents is from, I can't remember where in Africa offhand. I probably got it in my text message, but their exact words were, "She's not even from the United States," giving sisters in America a bad name. Let me see. Okay, she's a migrant from Liberia. So let's go ahead and play the story. Then we go.
For Law and Crime,
Clean it
I'm
up.
Kennedy Walker. 19-year-old Lucretia Formosa Quayan of Loganville, a city outside of Atlanta, has been arrested on one felony count of exploitation of a disabled person. In a viral video, Quayan, who's dressed in what appears to be medical scrubs, is...
And y'all already heard before we started, hey, my pops was like, hey, I ain't complaining about that. She doing me a favor, making sure I get my medication.
seen dancing as if she's performing at a club on the head of a shirtless, disabled man, all while he sits helplessly in a bathtub. But it does not stop there. She casually reaches into her pocket, pulls out a pill box, and without a second thought, pops a pill into his mouth. And this was not the only time. In another clip, Quayan is back at it. She's seen straddling and dancing provocatively over a different disabled man who sat in a chair helplessly, proving to those unpleased by her actions that this wasn't just an isolated incident, but an alleged pattern of abuse disguised as a joke. But in a now deleted video she posted on TikTok, Quayan says it isn't what it seems.
I gotta say for now is angles play a big part, but we're gonna get into that another time.
The 19-year-old then takes a jab at those upset with her online and seemingly defends her actions, claiming the man who she's dancing on in this video can speak.
A lot of people in the comments talking about sexual assault, rape, just all type of dumb, non-verbal. Trust and believe, he's verbal.
She then shares another video where you can hear someone talking. This time, she covers their face.
Around here, he be verbal, and I got proof. What you said? I'll get my hug. You want to get a hug? Yeah. Okay.
The teen says she wants those who find her video inappropriate to stop jumping to conclusions.
He looks very aware and comfortable to me, so y'all need to stop jumping to conclusions, even though, yeah, I do see how he look, but trust me, it's not that. Enough is enough.
Despite her opinions, Quayan was arrested and charged. In a statement released by the Loganville police chief, he states Quayan was dancing in a provocative manner above a disabled person, which resulted in the execution of both a search and arrest warrant. According to Georgia law, anyone found guilty of exploiting a disabled adult may face a prison sentence ranging from 1 to 20 years, a fine of up to $50,000, or both imprisonment and a fine.
All right, so we're gonna leave that right there. Okay, we got our resident nurse back on the line who we got to talk to. But before we get into that, real quick, I want to show y'all the company's website because it's always good to see their mission statement. What is this company mission statement? I'm sure it don't include busting it open for a real ninja on their head and dropping a pill in their mouth. But let's go ahead, take a look at the company mission statement. I think that's a good place to start. And the company above is S&L Healthcare LLC. our mission, and this is actually interesting because y'all want to see an interesting story, do a Google search for Florence Bakundi. It was the owner of a home health agency in DC. It was one of the biggest busts ever. I think they finessed 80 million in healthcare funds, and hey, that was some of, hey, I was on that task force, so that was great work. But that'll be interesting if y'all want to check it out. But let's read the admission. At SNL Healthcare Saturday Night Live, because this shit was goofy. At SNL Healthcare, our philosophy and vision is simple: to provide the highest quality care and excellent service while promoting the social interaction of seniors and a nurturing family-like environment. We offer comprehensive healthcare services, each of which are tailored to meet our residents' individualized needs. Each member of our team is committed to respecting your loved one as an individual with unique wants and needs, regardless of their current level of independence or capability. Our staff strive to treat each senior with dignity, honor, and respect, creating an atmosphere for elderly citizens to live in comfort. We share our passion for excellence by focusing on providing the most accurate health solutions and empowering seniors to their best, even when faced with challenges of aging. Now, real quick, we're going to get back to our resident nurse. All right. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I see everybody in the chat. Poor guys never get any attention like that. She's an angel. Hey, man, I don't know if you was here, but my father, we called him. He was like, why would I complain about that? She doing me a favor, making sure I'm squared away with my meds. People in their fetishes, different strokes for different folks. All right, we got our resident nurse online, but before we do that, I want to just jump in real quick, and we're going to talk on the legal aspects of it. We're going to go through this real quick because we're going to be in and out for this live stream, but I want to touch bases with Candy Girl, our resident nurse with 10 years of experience. All right. She was charged with exploitation of a disabled person. Now, interestingly enough, in the video I couldn't find, but how did she get caught? I know that's the question y'all asking. How the hell did she get caught? Well, apparently there is a person, I can't recall her handle, but I saw this on the news when I was doing open source research on the internet. She strolls the internet, IG, TikTok, to find individuals who may be doing something goofy that is illegal. That is how this woman got caught. Had she not posted this stuff to TikTok, she would have still been busting it open on grandpa's head, and no one would be the wiser. She would still be employed. She wouldn't have gotten arrested. She wouldn't have had a $7,500 bond that it looked like she struggled to make. But that's how she got caught. The charge she was charged with was exploitation of a disabled person. Now, this charge is unique, but it fits. Generally, to prove a person is guilty of this, they have to knowingly or willfully exploit a disabled adult, an elderly adult, or an adult in an elderly facility. Now, why is this interesting? Because the intent element is only focused on the willful exploitation. So the intent to exploit. Some people will argue that, oh, well, it's not exploiting them if it's not for any type of gain. She didn't get any money. She didn't put it on her OnlyFans, twerking on old person's heads or something to that effect. She put it on TikTok. But the problem is, hey, on TikTok, one, you can monetize it if it starts trending. Two, the exploitation by statute isn't defined as a monetary thing. So the exploitation is merely defined as a benefit. And in this case, you know what the benefit is? Clout. She did it for the clout. She did it for the likes. So the broadcasting of it makes it difficult for her to argue that she didn't have intent, because the intent in this statute is focused on knowingly and willfully exploiting a vulnerable adult. Now, the other thing is consent. Okay. She argued in the video that, hey, this person is able to communicate. They're not non-communicative. Trust me, when you're dealing with non-communicative persons, vulnerable adults, I actually had to go through so much training because I investigated, prosecuted like assault crimes against vulnerable adults who couldn't communicate. So you trained on all these ways to hold a teddy bear and do all of these things. But her argument that these persons' consent is irrelevant because the statute does not mention whether they are verbal. The statute doesn't only mentions if they're elderly. The statute doesn't look at the victim's intent. What statute would? Think about it. Like, oh man, I didn't commit a murder because the murder is only murder if the person didn't want it. This person wanted to go away. What? That wouldn't make any sense. So her argument that the person's consented to it is a no-go. So even if she did this to my father, who said he would not be opposed to this this type of treatment to get his medication, the fact that she would say consent, he could testify as consent, it wouldn't provide any relief in this statute. Now let's go ahead. Let's see if we still got we still got Candy Girl on the line. I want to pull Candy Girl up. We're gonna look at some of the comments, but we're gonna ask just some questions. Oh, I hit the wrong thing. I'm sorry. Nobody gonna see that. There you go. All right, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You know you got like an option to turn your camera off, right?
Sure.
You didn't see it? It's all good. It's all good. I do a quick edit. All right. So when you hear that story, tell me what are your original thoughts?
Well, I originally just thought that she was very young. And, nowadays everybody is just doing whatever they can do, like you said, for likes on social media. She obviously didn't think this through. Hopefully she doesn't have to do any jail time.
Um, hopefully that's so. What would a sanction be that's appropriate? Because clearly, I think we all see that the way we define the statute, she's guilty. Would you agree with that comment?
I would say that if she has an interest in becoming a nurse, that she would be blocked from doing that. No board of nursing is gonna approve her after this.
Okay. So, do you think jail time is too harsh of a sentence? Do you think she should get like probation or fine, or what do you think would be appropriate? If I'm
I
just
think so,
asking.
only because of her age.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. And a lot of times, I'll tell you, in situations like this, and I see in the chat they say community service hours, but a lot of times in situations like this, I had to look at the minute mark real quick. But a lot of times in situations like this, if a person has no prior contact with the court may be inclined, or the prosecution may be inclined, to offer them a deferred prosecution. Is exactly what you said, Lisa. Do community service, write an apology note, stay out of trouble for 6 months, and if you comply with those things, we'll dismiss the charges. Because the charges are dismissed, they'll be able to go get it actually expunged, and that is a potentially an option. Now let's go through some of these comments real quick. Let's see. She needs to be charged with more than that. I've been a nurse for 15 years and have never seen the level of recklessness that some folks being trusted to take care of people are displaying. Okay. Let me know your thoughts on this, Candy Girl. Now, I generally agree with that, but we looked it up on the Georgia Board of Nursing. She clearly isn't a nurse at 19 years old. So, do you think it's fair for her, Candy, to be held at the same standard that a nurse, someone who had that professionalized training? Because as quiet as it's kept, I've investigated and prosecuted people in the home health arena who it was always negligent hiring, negligent supervision. They would hire people who supposed to have certificates, and they got their certificates at a certificate printing mill. We go look at the school, and the school is an empty office building with a chair and a printer in there. And I'm like, what the hell? What are they learning in here? So, do you think if she's not a nurse at 19, do you think it would be fair to sanction her from becoming a nurse because she likely wasn't aware of the standards that a nurse had? Now I'm about to see if you're a bleeding heart, how nice you are.
Well, I think that she clearly had no clue what she was doing. We take a Hippocratic vow, or a Hippocratic oath, as well as doctors. We spend so much time in school, so much money, so much like energy, that I think that as a nurse, you take it pretty serious. Like, there are very few things that someone could entice me to do that would put my license in jeopardy. She had none of that. She probably just got on the job training. So I wouldn't hold her to the same standard as a nurse, and I think that she's definitely going to learn a life lesson. She'll never be able to practice as a nurse. And hopefully she can learn from this and she can move forward.
Okay, that's fair. Now, okay, it's hypothetical time. Any good attorney is going to throw out a hypothetical. Okay. Now, okay, I see Sister Solomon is like, no, disgusting. Throw the book at her. Like, damn community service. She's like, damn community service. Put this heifer in jail. We took the Hippocratic oath. She took the Hoochie oath. So I get what you're saying, Sister Solomon. I got you. But let me ask this, because would it be different? I just want to know, because all things aren't created equal. If you saw that video and it was grandma sitting there in her wheelchair and some guy in scrubs was standing over her, just kind of like, wouldn't that I'm just asking, would you feel the same that this guy should, probably have community service? Would you feel completely the same in the sanction if the gender of the victim and the perpetrator were reversed?
Well, I don't think that the gender matters. In the video, she also had a female client that she was twerking over. So, I mean, that's just as bad. Um,
That's fair.
yeah, so I think that she um was just caught up with the social media. There are a lot, like, don't get me wrong, as nurses, we do a lot of stupid stuff too. So I'm not just trying to say that, that was my first thing, that she was too young and that she definitely wasn't a nurse, because I do hear of examples of nurses doing stupid stuff too. But um, I just think that she didn't put any thought into it. We are now trained to social media is different. Let me say that. At least in my facility, we're getting extra training on what we can and can't do on social media. And I just think that she didn't have that training.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. This comment is hilarious, but Trump ain't playing that shit. She would probably be deported now. Hey! I'm just saying, man. You shouldn't make news, and you shouldn't make U.S. news doing stupid stuff if your status is in question. I'm just gonna put that out there. She could be an LPN or an MA who has the same level of responsibility as a nurse. Okay. Yeah, I don't even think that's. I wouldn't say that's. I get where you're coming from, but I don't. I think the way the statute is written is correct. I necessarily wouldn't say that it was. I wouldn't define it as elder abuse. Having prosecuted those cases before, elder abuse has a really specific statute. Okay, she should be taught a lesson. Okay, a weekend? Nah, I'm giving her a weekend, because if that was a guy doing that to grandma, everybody be like, throw his. Whose grandpa is complaining? I know my kid's grandpa wasn't complaining. He started out by saying, "Oh, this is cool. I'm down for it. Can I get do the VA pay for it?" That was his question. All right, depending on if it's a disco grandma. That's fair. Let's check out this last comment. Abuse either way, male or female. Y'all being too lenient. If it was your grandparent or parent. No, I agree. I think that, it should be treated equal. Hey, you got anything you wanted to say? Hey, Candy Girl, I appreciate you for jumping on and giving your uh take on this. I don't know. Like, I didn't look at the level of offense that it was. If it sounds like it's probably a lower level misdemeanor. I'll take a look at it. If it's a lower level misdemeanor, it's possible that it just depends how they wrote it. Because normally when it's a vulnerable adult, people are a little bit more inclined to move that up to a more serious offense. But Candy Girl, I appreciate you for tuning in and chiming in with your expertise. I'm gonna go ahead and log you off. I'm gonna make sure I take care of all the stuff we gotta take care of on the video. But I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Make sure y'all show some love to Candy Girl. Give her a thumbs up for letting me know what was going on, because I'm not a nurse. Your boy is ignorant. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcus.
All right, out. Okay, so All right, now let's go ahead. Hey, I appreciate everybody tuning in. I see we got a lot of people in the chat. Maybe she should be working for Big Tiff. Hey, shout out to you. That's a good idea. That's a job that Tiffany Henyard could probably do. I don't think it pay $100,000, but she actually might be qualified to do that. So shout out to her for hey, Alan, shout out to her. So that might be something that she could actually do. Let me see. She only showed the dancing online. What is she doing offline? Now, I think that's actually a good point. The first thing I thought of when I saw this, after I thought about how ridiculous it was and how she should be ashamed of herself, the first rational thought, besides shock and awe and shaking my head at the buffoonery, was a person who's willing to do something to this. You should probably look. Excuse me. A lot of times, vulnerable adults are subject to financial abuse. You probably wouldn't be amazed, but it happens so commonly with nurses, caretakers, home health aides. They exploit seniors, vulnerable adults, and they're getting paychecks. I've seen them have wills signed over, get access to checking accounts. It's absolutely crazy. That was kind of the very first thought that I had. It doesn't make a difference to me the same way in the statute whether a person is disabled or whether they're elderly. Both types of vulnerable adults are persons who scammers and finessers always target. So someone who it's about people who are willing to push the envelope. If someone's willing to push the envelope in one regard, they're probably likely to push it in another regard. So the first thing I thought about is there financial abuse? You just gotta do this every live stream now, huh? Get down. I'll be done in a minute. Go ahead, have a seat. And so is there some type of financial abuse? They probably may want to look at these persons, their income. Have she received any gifts? Because that's a common thing that happens with this. But I don't know. It's actually a disgusting story. Let me look up real quick because I got some notes here. Let me look up this statute to see what level of offense this is in Georgia. Let me see. It is let me move this over here. Exploitation of a disabled person. I'm guessing is a low level or upper level misdemeanor, but that's just my guess. Let me see. Exploitation of a disabled person. As soon as I typed it in, financial abuse pulled up. Georgia law. All right, we about to look right now. Let me see. Okay. So it's a mid-level misdemeanor. Normally, when you have misdemeanors, you have like low level, high level, mid level, and I'm just looking at other charges that are similar to this. But yeah, so it looks like exploitation. So they got an exploitation statute, but they also got an exploitation, abuse, neglect, and exploitation of vulnerable adults. This dog is driving me crazy. So it's a low level misdemeanor. So there's a likelihood that she probably won't be going into custody. She probably won't be going into custody over this. But I definitely agree. I'll be honest. I wouldn't be. If it's an offense where jail time could be a possibility because it's an older person, it's a vulnerable adult. I'm actually not opposed to. If I was a judge or a prosecutor, I would be like, nah, you need to go sit down for a while, even if it's a week. Even if it's a week. You know what I would do? A judge would probably give some type of split sentence. They'll probably give her something to the because as an older person, you don't want to be the judge who's responsible for letting shit happen to older people. That's like you're gonna lose your seat, you're gonna lose your election, and it's just not the right thing to do. So what a judge probably would do. If it's me, I'm gonna make her go sit down. I'm like, yo, I'm giving you a 60-day sentence. Of that 60 days, 53 is suspended. 7 days you're gonna do right now. You not did not pass go, did not collect $200. You leaving right now to go do 7 days. After you finish that 7 days, when you get out, you're gonna be on supervised probation for 12 months. And if you do anything stupid, get another charge, don't meet with your PO, fail a drug test, hey, you're gonna be sitting down for 53 days during the remainder of that sentence. That's probably would be more in that would probably be more in my book. Yeah, she only showed the dancer, but I agree with that. She could be using sexual abuse to get her way one way or another. I agree. I think it does warrant further investigation by authorities, because not the employer. The employer, because the employer don't know what the hell. I mean, I don't know if the employer. I don't know. How much fault do we want to put as the employer on hiring somebody who would even do this stupid? I don't know. I don't know. I can't judge the employer. The only thing I know is, if a further investigation is done and some other harm or wrongdoing or abuse in any regard, whether it's financial, physical, is taking place, the employer is going to be screwed, because with regard to this, the family members are going to be livid. But in a civil matter, there probably no damages or no severe damages. I mean, I think the only damages they could really say is if one of the victims were traumatized, they needed to get some type of therapy. Maybe if something to that effect. I haven't heard any facts that support that contention, so it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Those men will probably, yeah. And I actually told someone this story. I said, as when I was doing healthcare fraud investigations and prosecutions, we had jurisdiction to investigate like abuse and neglect in any federal healthcare funded facility. So, as an outreach effort, every quarter we would go to certain home health aides, senior citizen centers, and we would give these presentations. And I'm not one of those people where I'm just going to send people out. Okay. Even if I'm the leader, I need to go out because I want people to, one, make sure they're getting the message, but I like the interaction part. And I would go out there. I lie to you not. The same way my father said, I wouldn't complain at all. She's just taking care of me, making sure I get my medication. A lot of women would think the same way. I literally, I would go to a senior center, give this presentation. Here's a hotline to call if you need any help or you want to talk about something or you aren't sure. Call this hotline. And without fail, man, the women at those senior facilities be like, Mr. Weeks, if I call this number, can I get you directly? I just be like, no, you can't get me directly. What are you doing? Like, nah, calm down, Mima. It's okay. So the same way these guys will probably write a letter, a lot of older persons in these facilities probably actually wouldn't be offended if that type of conduct occurred to them. Even though it's terrible conduct, I'm glad the statute is written the way it is, where it takes how the victim felt about the act out of it, which is how every statute is ran. But hey, senior homes, those people there, don't think they all just innocent, just walking around on their walkers watching Jeopardy. They wild. Yeah. She was getting those Social Security ducats. That's what I think too. I think if they take a close look, she was getting some type of financial benefit. He probably bought her some Reeboks or something. I don't know. Tell Them You Love Me is a recent Netflix documentary that talks about how SA by a caregiver can affect vulnerable populations. I agree, and that's that's why how a person feels is irrelevant, because they feel like, I'm not gonna say they feel like that. I guarantee you, when I went to go do a presentation at a senior citizen, the reason that the older women would make those type of comments, it's because they're in a vulnerable state, hence the term vulnerable adult. A lot of people they don't have family to come visit them. They may only get funding from the state. Like they may have lost their spouse or what have you. So they're vulnerable in their mere nature. So the fact that they want some form of attention is the key to their vulnerableness. So the consent of it is actually irrelevant. I'm actually gonna check that out. That's a recent. I'm gonna check that out. That'll be something good. We used to make our investigators and staff watch videos like that because it was actually kind of a training tool. So I definitely agree with you there. So I don't know. I think that she should sit down. That's just me. Even if it's a weekend, like it's somebody's legally a person who handles like a funeral home, they have a higher standard of care with the handling of a corpse, right? And it's because, hey, there's emotions tied to this. Like, if a standard of care at a funeral home is higher than a standard of care for any other type of innkeeper because of the emotions attached to it, I think that same logic applies when you're talking about your loved one at a senior facility. Those persons should be held to a higher duty, a different standard of care, a higher duty of care than anyone else, because families, the state, the government are tasking them with taking care of our most vulnerable populations. Vulnerable adults, children, pets, those are the vulnerable populations in this country. And anytime you have a crime against any of those three, it should be some heightened standard or heightened duty of care for the persons who are have a duty to provide some type of care for them. So I agree with you on that one. I agree with you. I told some, hey, I had a conversation and I told him, I was like, they used to be like outbreak central, like the Ebola monkey up in there. They ain't got nothing to do, but it's only so much Jeopardy you can watch. It's only so much Judge Judy that they want to watch. So hey, I know that is a 100% true thing. All right, the last thing I got is a last story on nursing. It's on TikTok. I don't know. Let me see. I'm gonna pull the video up real quick. It's only like 2 minutes. This is less egregious. I still feel some type of way about it personally. I'm gonna pull it up and tell y'all why I feel some type of way about it. But let me go ahead. Let me see. Nurses. Let's see. I know this should pop right. Okay. So I don't know if y'all seen this, but at some point in 2020, this 2020, I think they said when it started, but this was a trend that was going around. So let me go ahead. I'm gonna pull up this video so y'all can see it. And we're gonna talk about this, then we're gonna get out of here. Let's see. Window. All right, this was the trend. Nurses were doing
This nurse has just lost a patient. Overwhelmed with emotion, she leans against the wall. Then she removes her mask and tries to shake it off. She still has 5 hours left in her shift. It seems to be part of a growing trend. TikTok is filled with healthcare workers posting their anguish after a patient dies. This nurse has just lost a patient.
Now, again, they not busting it open on the patient's head for a real ninja, okay? that's a positive. But what do you all think and how do you all feel about that? I don't think that my issue with it, let me see, maybe this is just me. My issue with it is that it's not a genuine reaction. It's like kind of cap. It's kind of a production. So that's my issue with it. Because I do agree, if I had cases that I lost as a defense attorney and clients went to jail, and especially when I was early on, year 1, 2, 3, I would actually feel like shit for like days afterwards. Like, man, like second guessing myself, my argument. Their facts could have been terrible facts, but I don't know why I just wore it so heavy. So I definitely understand, I mean, I equate a client going into prison or jail. I equate that with someone passing away, because you go to prison or jail, you don't know what can happen. So I understand the feelings, but it bothers me because it's not a genuine reaction. So I do think that nurses lose patience and they wear that shit because they grow attached to patients. They love these patients. They get their favorites. But you had your initial reaction to the loss. Then after that, you went and took your camera and set it up on the wall. And then you put a sad music behind it and you start going through all of these things. It bothers me because it's disingenuous. It would be one thing if somehow the actual real initial reaction was captured, I would be less concerned with it. But I think it's kind of goofy because it's just more performative in nature. That's just my thought. Let me see. Exactly. That's my point. It's because it's not genuine is the issue for me. I'm like, yo, this is cap. Y'all didn't do this because y'all were genuinely concerned. Y'all did this shit for the gram. Y'all did it for the TikTok. Y'all did it for the like. So I agree. It's two stage. I agree completely. Go ahead. You want to jump on here? Go ahead. Click on. I pinned the link in the chat. If you want to jump on, you can go ahead and jump on. Let me hear. I'm gonna pin the link in the chat. If you wanna jump on, this is the time to jump on. It'll just be your voice. I got everything set up. I'm gonna pin it again. I'm gonna pin it again in the chat. If you want to jump on, because I see you feel some type of way about this. Yep. Let me see. But then many times they don't have an outlet. Some hospitals offer post huddles, but others don't. Sometimes they're just looking for someone to relate. Interesting. My uncle is old with a peg leg, always grouchy, probably because he needs some type of this attention. He's my favorite person. It's crossed my mind to get him a woman of the night a few times. Yeah, I'm that. I mean, hey, a woman of the evening. The evening is more distinguished. You don't want a woman of the night. A woman of the night is kind of crazy. Woman of the evening is what you want to get. But I don't know. Everybody want companionship, especially as you get older and you just kind of alone and isolated. So I definitely understand. Um, I definitely agree. Like real talk, I've had to. Y'all already heard what my father said when it started, but I had the conversation with him, and my father. This is exactly. He probably sleep now, but he would actually tell you this. He told me he was like, "Hey, my dad is like big on like if something happened to me, don't spend no money. Do it the cheapest way. Take care of everything as cheap as possible, and make sure my grandkids get everything." But he has actually told me he was like if I get like dementia and I can't remember who you are or none of my family, or it's like that movie, The Notebook, you got to sit down and talk to me for 2 hours for me to remember you for 3 minutes. He's like, don't do that shit. He's like, dead serious. He wasn't joking. He's like, don't do that shit. If I get dementia or something like that, put me in a nice facility and occasionally have a nice nurse to come by and give me a scrub bath. So actually, how you describe your family, Lisa, is how I think a lot of older people just in general kind of feel. They want some form of companionship. They don't they think that they're a burden on their family. To me, I'm coming in there, you're gonna be somewhere close to me so I can come see you all the damn time. But a lot of times they think that they're a burden on their family. But I don't know. It's interesting. I think the stage emotion shit is goofy as hell. Twerking is terrible. It's a crime. You should get a weekend at a minimum. I agree with that, but the stage thing is kind of goofy. And I think this is why I'm not gonna say because people have credentials and they still do stupid stuff to lose those credentials. But having like an assistant at a group home without any type of the other thing too is this is a good point. I would need to see how the company is training these employees. Even if they say, hey, we're just gonna get a person who's young, fresh out of high school, who may have done a vocational nursing program in high school, and we're gonna train them up. I would like to know what is the training requirements for those jobs because had an actual harm occurred to one of those persons, let's say hypothetically, grandpa sitting in her chair and she over grandpa head, busting it open for a real ninja. And the chair that she's standing on breaks and she falls on Grandpa's right on the top of the crown of his goddamn head, into his neck. Grandpa's spine all jacked up. Now the employer is looking at being civilly liable for the acts of the employee. And one of the first things they're going to look at is, what type of training did you give these persons? What were your policies, procedures, processes? It should be a manual somewhere on how to conduct yourself. So as of this point, there's a harm to the victims, but there's no cash out harm, is what I would refer to it, that we can see right now. They may or may not have some type of trauma, but there's no type of harm that we can see on the facts we have. But I would be interested to know, how are they training these persons who may not be a registered nurse? They may just be an assistant status. How are they training them? And that'll go a long way to, one, how well the employer still would be liable because she was acting within the scope of her employment. She had on her robe. She was there. She dropping pills in the mouth while she was busting it open for a real ninja. But I don't know. It's so many legal questions. But I agree with you all. At the end of the day, this is actually terrible. And goofy shit. I'm just be honest. It's goofy shit. We put our loved ones, and I know have a loved one who stays in a assisted living facility, and I literally have to, like, at one point I had to go over there and remember saying expressly, like, and this was way across, like, states away, and I was like, I had to literally go there and visit, and was like, yo, don't think because I'm not from here or I don't practice in this area, I don't know somebody. Don't make me make a call to the attorney general of this state who I know personally, and I got his phone number in my book, to talk about some goofy shit that y'all got going on here. And it was for something that was actually minor, but I was pissed off because I was like, nah, this is my family. Y'all need to take care of people when they in this motherfucker. You got to take care of them as if they're your family. Pardon my language. But I don't know. That's kind of crazy. Let's see. What made her think this was okay? Hey, go back, watch the replay. Hey, my father said he would be perfectly fine with this. 75 years old. He was like, I don't see any offense, but it is what it is. But yo, that's it for this video. I appreciate everybody who tuned in. A big round of applause for the co-counsel who jumped on and gave us her perspective as a nurse with 10 years of experience. Yo, as always, if y'all get some value out of this, like, share, subscribe, comment, all of that good stuff. And if you're watching on the replay side of the game, check out the content that's going to pop up on the screen. There's going to be more content related to attorney reactions. Y'all take care. Have a good one. Be blessed. Peace.